Provision without discernment doesn't make you a husband, it makes you a resource. Welcome back to The Wise Bachelor. Let's open this up and talk about it. What I want to walk you through today is a conversation that is happening all over social media, all over dating apps, and in too many households right now. And the Bible already gave men the language for it thousands of years ago. A woman who says she wants a provider is not automatically wrong. Provision is honorable. A man who can provide is a good thing. But there is a difference, a very important difference, between a woman who wants a partner she can build a life with and a woman who wants access to what you've built without the covenant that should come with it. By the end of this video, I want you to be able to tell the difference, because one of those women adds to your life and the other one costs you everything. I want to start with something that is showing up constantly in men's spaces online right now. There's a pattern of posts across Reddit, across Twitter, where men are describing the same situation with slightly different details. The structure goes like this. Man meets woman. Woman is up front. She says she wants a provider, a man who leads, a man who takes care of things. The man hears this and thinks, good, she knows what she wants. She's not playing games. He steps up. He provides. He pursues. He invests. And somewhere down the road, he realizes she wanted the provision, but not the partnership. She wanted what his hands could build, but not the man whose hands built it. One post I came across said it plainly. The man wrote, I paid her rent for 8 months, took her on vacations, covered everything. And when I started having a slow season at work, she left within 60 days. She said I wasn't showing up anymore. Let me slow down there. He wasn't showing up anymore. After 8 months of provision, one slow season became the evidence that he wasn't the man she needed. Now, I want to hold that story up next to something, because this is not a new story. And that is exactly what I want men to understand today. Level 1, what it looks like. Here is the surface behavior. She says she wants a provider. She frames it as knowing her worth. She says, I'm a traditional woman. I want a man who leads. She talks about submission, about building together, about wanting a real man. And a man hears all of that and his chest fills up. Because the desire to provide is God-given. Scripture honors it. A man who doesn't provide for his household is rebuked in 1 Timothy 5:8. Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So when she speaks the language of provision, he leans in. That is a natural, God-designed response. But here is where I want men to slow down. She is describing what she wants to receive. Has she described what she intends to give? Because provision in Scripture is never unilateral. It moves in the context of a covenant. Provision flows from a man to a household, his household, not to a woman who has not yet committed to being his household. Watch the pattern, not just the person. Level 2, what it actually is. When you slow down and look past the language, what you are often watching is a woman who has learned that the word provider is a key that unlocks a certain type of man. She does not say, I want money. That would be obvious. She says, I want a man who takes care of things. She says, I need security. She says, I don't want to have to worry. These are not wrong desires on their own, but they become a mechanism when they are presented before character is demonstrated, before loyalty is established, before the covenant of marriage creates the structure that makes provision make sense. Here is what I want men to see. A woman who leads with her needs and follows slowly with her commitment is running a transaction. And a man who is operating on attraction and the desire to be chosen, that man will keep paying into the transaction long past the point where wisdom would have told him to stop. Let me say that again because it matters. When a man is operating on attraction and the desire to be chosen, he will keep paying long past the point where wisdom would have told him to stop. I understand why men do this. The feeling of being needed, of being the one she turns to, of being the man who handles it, that feeling is powerful. It's connected to a man's sense of purpose and identity. I'm not here to mock any man for falling into this. I'm here to name the pattern so you can see it clearly before it costs you. Level 3, what Scripture already said about it. Now, if we run this through Scripture, the Bible is not quiet on this dynamic at all. Open Proverbs 7. This is one of the most detailed passages in all of wisdom literature. A father is describing a scene to his son. He is watching a young man walking down a street, and he sees what happens when a man without discernment meets a woman with a strategy. Verse 21 says this, With persuasive words, she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. Now I want you to notice something in this passage. The writer does not say she was ugly. He does not say she was cruel. He does not say she was obviously dangerous. He says she had persuasive words. He says she had smooth talk. She had language that worked on men. I want a provider. I need a real man. I'm not like these other women. That is smooth talk. And the young man in Proverbs 7 heard it and followed. And verse 23 tells us what it cost him, little knowing it would cost him his life. I am not saying every woman who uses the word provider is a Proverbs 7 woman. I am saying the Proverbs 7 woman does not introduce herself as the Proverbs 7 woman. She introduces herself with the language she knows will work. The test is never the opening language. The test is the pattern over time. Let me bring in Samson for a moment, because this is where the pattern gets deeper. Samson was not a foolish man by nature. He was called by God before he was born. He had supernatural strength. He had purpose. But Samson had one recurring vulnerability. He moved on attraction before he moved on discernment. And when Delilah came, she didn't attack him. She didn't threaten him. She pressed him, softly, repeatedly, in the language of intimacy. How can you say you love me when you won't tell me? That is not manipulation that looks like manipulation. That is manipulation that looks like hurt feelings. And Samson kept responding to it, not because he was weak, but because he was unlocking something in himself every time he tried to ease her discomfort. He was providing reassurance, providing access, providing information, until there was nothing left to take. Men, Samson didn't lose his strength in one dramatic moment. He lost it one conversation at a time, one compromise at a time, one, let me just give her this much at a time. Provision without discernment, and a man finds himself in the same chair Samson sat in, wondering where his strength went. Now let me put some structure around what I'm describing, because this is not just an ancient warning. The data reflects it in the present. A Pew Research survey from 2017 found that 71% of Americans said it was very important for a man to be able to support a family financially in order to be a good husband or partner. Only 32% said the same about women. So the cultural expectation of provision is still heavily weighted toward men. And that is not inherently a problem. Men are built to provide. Scripture affirms this. But here is the other side of that number. When provision is expected from men but not reciprocally built toward by women, when the standard for him is financial and the standard for her is optional, you have created the conditions for exactly the dynamic I've been describing. He is evaluated by what he can give. She is not evaluated by what she brings. That asymmetry does not come from God. It comes from a culture that kept the man's obligation and quietly removed the woman's. And men who do not know their Bible will not know the difference, because they were never told there was one. Here is the distinction this whole episode has been building toward. The Proverbs 31 woman, the one Scripture holds up as honorable, her husband trusts her fully. Not because she said the right things, not because she used the language of a traditional woman, but because verse 12 says, she brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She brings him good. That is active. That is directional. She is moving toward his flourishing, not extracting from it. The woman who says she wants a provider, but never asks what she can build alongside you, she is not describing a partnership. She is describing a service she intends to receive. Real provision belongs inside a covenant, not as the price of entry into one. A man who provides before there is commitment is not demonstrating love. He is demonstrating that he can be accessed without cost. And some women, not all women, but some, will take that access and never close the gap toward the covenant. Watch the pattern, not just the person. I open this with a simple line. Provision without discernment doesn't make you a husband. It makes you a resource. Samson proved that. The young man in Proverbs 7 proved that. And the man who wrote that Reddit post. 8 months of provision, 60 days after a slow season, she was gone. He proved it too. Strength is not the protection. Discernment is. If this resonated with you, like the video. It helps more men find it who need to hear it. Comment Proverbs 7 if you want a full breakdown of that passage. I'll go deep on it in an upcoming video. And share this with a man who keeps leading with his wallet before he leads with his wisdom. Subscribe if you want biblical discernment for modern relationships. We cover a lot of ground on this channel, and there's more coming. That's all for today. This is The Wise Bachelor, and remember, a woman who only values your provision has not yet valued you. and God never designed your blessing to be someone else's budget.